we shouldn't be live yet until I hit go live. So all right, and you ready to get this started?
Let's do it.
All right.
Then
So for
I'll
some
repost
reason,
it on Facebook.
once again, it's giving us issues on Facebook. I did everything properly this time. Like I set up the live event before and everything, but it's still not connecting live. So we can just do it solely on YouTube. That's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I'll drop a link for the YouTube on my Facebook here.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, let's go ahead and let's get this bad boy started then. And let's do it.
You know those two guys from work who won't shut up about football, but are pretty damn entertaining? Well, they decided to buy a couple microphones. And with that, we welcome you to the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast, where Justin Adams and Martin Cheney wrangle over everything college football and NFL. Bold predictions, hot takes, and live game reactions. This is Cheesy Corn Sports. And now, here's your hosts, Justin and Martin.
All right. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in again to another week, another episode, another installment of the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. I am your co-host today, Martin Cheney, joined, as always, by Justin Adams. Justin, how are we feeling today?
Feeling good, man. Ready to get this NFL action going. College football wore me out yesterday. The fights wore me out yesterday, so I'm ready to start fresh with some football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's right. There were some pretty big fights on yesterday. You want to talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I'll just go over the biggest three fights. Dustin Poirier beat Michael Chandler, submitted him in the third round after a pretty dominant performance by Chandler throughout. Just Chandler put himself in a bad position after he tossed him to the ground. Basically ragdolled him to the ground and over ragdolled him and ended up in a bad spot. Zhang Weili beat Carla Cookie Monster Esparza for the title at the women's strawweight. And then Israel Adesanya loses again for the third time to the same opponent that he lost to twice in kickboxing, loses title to Alex Pereira. So, yeah, overall, pretty good night of fights. From Beaumont, Texas, Ryan Spann won by KO. So the hometown kid getting it done, and he's climbing up the rankings. Should be top 7 now in the light heavyweight rankings. So yeah, that's just kind of a rundown of the UFC fights last night.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not much of a UFC fighting expert anyway, so I'm just gonna take your word for it all at that. But yeah, whenever there's a big fight, I feel like we can at least touch on it a little bit.
100%.
Get some of your analysis of it as well. And 9 times out of 10, I know you're gonna be watching it. So
Yep.
yeah. So let's talk a little college football yesterday, huh? We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I think there are some important games to note here. Georgia absolutely whooped on Mississippi State. Ohio State absolutely whooped on Indiana. Michigan, absolutely whooped on Nebraska. I think the only real highlight I saw of that game was the Nebraska player getting cup shotted by a helmet and go flying.
Hey, that was pretty gnarly, dude. And then he got hit. He got hit twice, once in the groin, and then he got smoked from the front, and just ended up scorpion on his back. Just like landed on his upper back and neck area, but he popped right back up. So
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, from what I saw, he popped right back up as soon as he got hit. So hey,
he's going to rethink hurdling.
Sports.
He's going to rethink any hurdles in the future. I'm just posting I'm posting the
TCU
link here.
edged out Texas. Max Duggan continuing TCU's magical season. Some good resiliency on that side of the Big 12 there. Let's see. Tennessee whooped on them. Oregon basically shattered all their playoff hopes and dreams by losing to Washington. Good old Michael Penix Jr. I'm surprised Washington isn't ranked higher. I know that they have 2 losses on the season, but I mean, I look at the rankings and I see 6-3 Texas in the top 20. I see Notre Dame at 6-3 in the top 25. And then you have Washington that's barely there. Little surprise there, but it is what it is. It's not like I had them pegged to go do anything actually special.
I think part of it is their strength of schedule is 50th in the country. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. When you got other teams, most other teams in the top 25 ahead of them, except for one. UCLA is the only one that's behind them as far as strength of schedule goes. But everybody else that's ahead of them has a tougher strength of schedule. So,
yeah. And speaking of UCLA and their very, very weak strength of schedule, yeah, they lost. They lost to the University of Arizona. I do know a couple of our loyal followers are pretty decent fans of the University of Arizona Wildcats. I was unaware that they played football. I thought they were a strictly online community college. Didn't know what athletics were up until this week. So, hey, good for them. Dorian Thomas-Robinson and Chip Kelly just couldn't figure out the U of A offense, and
juggernaut
just didn't work out for them. LSU, they secured their spot in the SEC title game, winning the SEC West by edging out Arkansas yesterday. And Alabama. This might be the worst Alabama team I have seen in a long time. They did not deserve to win that game against Ole Miss.
Not at all.
But, hey, stupid is as stupid does, right? That's what Forrest Gump told me. And somehow, some way, Ole Miss gave the game away. And Alabama is going to climb back probably into the first 4 looking out of the college playoff just because so many teams in there lost. What are your thoughts on that?
They'll do anything they can to get Alabama in the top 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, as long as they keep taking care of business, I fully expect them to do so at some point. Even though TCU deserves it more, TCU just beat Texas, so there's no way that they could possibly, slide them up ahead of them. But they'll be right on the outside looking in for sure.
Yeah, and for the record, I know you and I both had TCU in the 4 spot last week. We actually called the top 4 perfectly. I even had them down to the matchups of what it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But for the record, I fully anticipate TCU to get jumped by LSU or by Alabama, whoever really wins that SEC title game. So whether it's Tennessee, LSU, or Alabama, I anticipate one of them to jump TCU and somehow magically sneak in there, even if TCU finishes undefeated. So there's that. Yeah. Clemson, completely irrelevant nowadays. We don't really have to talk about Utah because they suck. Well, they're in the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 sucks. So North Carolina, their freshman quarterback absolutely balled out yesterday. Good job on his part. Penn State,
I will say with
yes.
I'm sorry. I will say with Oregon. Oregon was the Pac-12's one shot to potentially get in the playoff, and they just cannibalized each other this year. So that one chance that they had to get in there is now gone. They would have had to win out, but So that's not a good thing for the Pac-12, but we kind of knew coming in that it's a good thing for college football because if a Pac-12 team makes it in the top 4. That's not going to be fun to watch. So I know I don't want to watch that because whoever makes it's going to get destroyed.
It would have even been worse for college football if it was Oregon that got in, because Oregon isn't one of the 2 that was leaving the Pac-12. You know what I mean? Like people are looking at USC and UCLA like, oh, okay, they're leaving because they're better than the rest of the Pac-12. Well, then you have a different Pac-12 team at the top fighting to get into the playoff, and that just would not have been good, especially if there was any indication in week 1 when Oregon lost 40-0 to Georgia.
Yeah.
So it's probably better off that the Pac-12 takes a seat this time and reloads in the recruiting class. Give the NIL stuff a couple of years to really draw the recruits back to the Southwest of the United States with all that has to offer, and hopefully some right coaching changes throughout can turn stuff around. No other really notable games really to go over in my eyes at the top 25. Was there any that you wanted to talk about?
No. That about covers it. The that USC game. I think it was on Friday, wasn't it? USC.
Yes.
That game was interesting because USC actually came out looking extremely shaky, and then you saw Caleb Williams getting into his team on the sideline, just fired up, just kind of just going scorched earth on his team over on the sideline, and then they picked it up from there on out. So, man, USC, I mean, they're really good when they want to be.
Yeah.
So that's a fun team to watch right there. They, of course, they don't get a lot of love because they're in the Pac-12 late usually. So, but that was a fun game to watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, next week they do have UCLA, so there is
two Big Ten rivals.
Some excitement to be watching next week as far as the Pac-12 goes. And keep in mind the Pac-12 did change their conference championship seeding, or however you want to say it, how they go about determining who's in the conference championship. It's no longer North versus South. It's literally the top 2 teams in the entire conference.
Yep.
So
Gabe said U of A's were.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's nice to have him on my side every now and then. I can't say we agree on a lot, but
he's gonna switch now.
Oh man. But yeah, so I mean, right now, Pac-12 is probably going to be looking like a USC Oregon matchup. Even with the 2 losses, I mean, Oregon's still probably going to be firmly there, unless UCLA beats USC, and like, there's still some stuff that can happen. But from what I've seen, USC is the better football team. And USC should pretty handedly beat any Pac-12 opponent that they end up playing in the conference championship anyway. SEC, it could. LSU secured the West. Probably, it's going to be Georgia. So I mean, you got Tennessee and Georgia probably going to be duking it out in the SEC title game. I'm sorry, did I say Tennessee? I meant LSU.
Yeah.
Probably going to be Georgia. I think any doubts about Georgia were silenced, except maybe for you.
Never silenced.
And then, so I'm kind of unfamiliar with how the Big Ten goes about their championships. Are they division based, or is there a chance we can see Ohio State and Michigan just completely rematch?
No, Ohio State and Michigan are on the same side. So yeah, it's Big Ten East versus Big Ten West. So you got your teams like Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Purdue, Minnesota. Those teams are in the East. And then
who's leading the West right the West right now?
So I believe it was Illinois up until the last week. So let me see. But Illinois lost. So let me see who took over the top spot there.
Actually, has Purdue at the top.
Yeah, that sounds about right because it was between 2 weeks ago it was between us, Purdue, and Illinois. and then Purdue lost. So yeah, that makes sense.
So there's 4 teams in the West with a 4-3 conference record, all 6-4, 7-3.
Yep.
And wow, you want to talk about an island of misfit toys? You're talking
Oh
the
my
Purdue
God.
Boilermakers, the Illinois Fighting Illini, the Iowa Hawkeyes, who
Hey, don't throw us in there, bud.
yeah, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Keep in mind, the Iowa Hawkeyes still have not scored 200 total points on the season.
No, their offense is terrible. So it looks like the conference record is like a 4-way tie right now with Illinois having the best overall record. So,
yeah, interesting. Okay, we'll see how
whoever
that
wins that is going to lose to Ohio State. From what I saw from Michigan yesterday, Ohio State's far better than that team. I mean, honestly, like we were in that game even up until halftime. Like I said, we lost our we're down to our third string quarterback and then our offensive coordinator. So our third string quarterback, our second string, drives us down the field. Chuba Purdy drives us down the field. He's getting in a rhythm finally. When we get in the red zone, he gets hurt, lower leg injury. So he has to come out. Then Logan Smothers comes in and fumbles the snap. So then we have to kick a field goal. The ensuing kickoff, the returner goes down the right sideline. He gets knocked out of bounds and falls right into the lower body of our offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple. So then Mark Whipple has to get medical treatment on the sideline, and he gets basically held up because he can't stand on his own for up until halftime. And then I don't remember if he was standing on the sideline at halftime or not, but I'm like, we literally lost our quarterback and our offensive coordinator in back-to-back plays there. That was fun. It was real fun.
It's been quite the year for Nebraska this year, huh?
Yeah, it's that way every year. It hasn't been as painful as last year. Last year was the worst.
Sure. Okay. Let's do a quick little Heisman race candidate here. Who are your top 3 Heisman candidates after this week?
I would say CJ Stroud 1. I still got Bijan Robinson up there, but I might go ahead and put I still think Hendon Hooker would be up there, and then Bijan Robinson. So, but those two are interchangeable at 2 and 3.
I got
CJ Stroud at top.
For me, there's plenty of guys that you could put number 3. There's plenty of feel good stories that would appeal to the committee and the voters.
Caleb Williams you can throw up there too, honestly.
Absolutely, that's probably who I would throw up there. I still think Hendon Hooker is going to end up winning it just because, as we talked about previously, the story and the narrative and the hype around Tennessee just as a whole this year. I still think CJ Stroud's a better quarterback. But I think it's going to come down between CJ Stroud and Hendon Hooker. And at this point in time, just for everything we've spoken on previously, I think Hendon Hooker is going to get more votes. Not that he's a better football player, but he's going to get more votes.
And it's funny, diving into the fantasy side, especially the dynasty outlook and stuff like that. And then people just talking, like Texans fans talking about wanting to draft Hendon Hooker. It's funny because what a lot of people don't understand is CJ Stroud is 21. Hendon Hooker is going to be 25 in January. So that's the thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to is they're trying to compare these two as far as talent goes for when they get to the next level. But I mean, the dude's 25 years old. Like he's played an entire college career where CJ Stroud is on his second season. Gabe, shut up. Said stick to corn. So, but yeah, so on that, like that's what a lot of people have to also pay attention to the ages of these guys, because some people just didn't come out and light the world on fire in their first and second season. So that was an interesting note there that people just are kind of not even, they're neglecting, like I'm like, whenever Hendon Hooker, the draft comes around, Hendon Hooker is going to be the same age as Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, if you want to draft him in a dynasty fantasy league, go right ahead. But I'm sorry, I don't want my rookie QB to be 25 years old.
Yeah, I understand the age argument. I think age plays a little bit less of a role when it comes to the quarterback position, just because you have
Not when it
quarterbacks
comes to
playing
athleticism.
longer. You talk okay, sure.
Not when it comes to athletic quarterbacks, because their shelf life, as we know, is shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still taking CJ Stroud over Herman Hooker. But if I'm at like the end of the first round and I need a quarterback in dynasty drafts this year, I have no issues taking Herman Hooker, depending on what team he goes to. Right? Like, there's only one starting quarterback per team. It's not like a running back where there can be a committee receivers. There's multiple on the field. I mean, if he gets drafted to like, I don't know, Tampa Bay, and Tom Brady, finally retires, hey, that's a good opportunity to go and actually start. Or, if like Baltimore drafts him, right? Like, he's not starting over Lamar Jackson.
No.
But we have seen some teams with MVP quarterbacks trade up and take a quarterback in the first round. Wild concept. I don't understand it, but hey, here we are. So, looking at you, Jordan Love. Thanks. Anyway, I think that's a perfect segue to get into the NFL here. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. So we have one game live right now in Munich, Germany. The Seattle Seahawks are taking on Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I haven't looked at the score since halftime. It was 14-10. Tampa Bay.
No, it's 14-3.
Leonard Fournette. Yeah, Leonard Fournette got in there with a touchdown, as well as Julio Jones, little yards after catch action. Looks like
31.
14-3 now. Seattle just got the ball back. Yeah, okay. Nothing really big to report on there. Kenneth Walker's been kind of locked up so far. Sorry for all the Kenneth Walker owners out there.
8 yards on 7 carries. Whew.
Yeah.
Tough.
Gabe says the Seahawks are who we thought they were. Oh yeah. Who's the Cardinals coach that said that?
Oh my God. I could see his face. I could see his face, and
yeah.
I see the Bears.
I see the short, fat little face with the with the anger and the sweat rolling down the side.
Oh, it's gonna kill me now. Hold on.
Oh man. Well, while you look that up,
that coach was Dennis Green. That's it. Dennis Green.
There it is. Let's shift back to Thursday here, right? We had Atlanta and Carolina. I don't know what's going on with the NFC South this year. The NFC South is a dumpster fire of a division.
Put it lightly.
A few weeks ago, you had this very same matchup be the matchup.
Game of the year.
Well, even with the circumstances going into it, the winner of that game a few weeks ago was going to take sole possession of first place in the NFC South. Mm-hmm. And that was with the Carolina Panthers at 2-5. Beats me. But here we are a couple weeks later. Atlanta is still in first place, I believe. And now they lose by 10 because Marcus Mariota forgot how to play football. You had Baker Mayfield headbutting his teammates on the sideline after the game. What other notable moments were there? You had Deontay Foreman blow up.
Yeah, they ran that man into the dirt. He had no gas in the tank. They were trying to run him in the fourth quarter, run the clock out there. You had Mariota throwing off his ass, just launching the shit up in the air. Dude, Mariota, watching that game, so frustrating to watch. He is so bad. I mean, if the receiver is not butt naked wide open, which that one guy was that one time, he's not making a throw. That's painful. I mean, it's about time that they go to Desmond Ridder because Marcus Mariota just ain't it. And right now, everybody knows they can just key in on the run, bring some pressure on Mariota, and he's toast.
So you want to know something funny? Deontay Foreman has 4 rushing touchdowns against the Atlanta Falcons this year. Guess how many touchdowns he has on the year?
5.
4.
All of them.
Literally all of his rushing touchdowns have come against
Lord.
Atlanta this year.
That's tough, dude.
Yeah, I thought I was reading that wrong at first. Cause I was like, no, like there's got to be someone he scored against. Like, nope, Atlanta Falcons. He scored 3 rushing touchdowns against Atlanta in their overtime loss a few weeks ago, and then he scored 1 on Thursday where he ran the ball for 31 carries for 130 yards. I hope you started him just because Atlanta's defense is not good. If you didn't, well, you're probably not going to get an opportunity like that again. However, we did touch on the Carolina Panthers and their easy running back schedule going into the rest of the season. There wasn't a lot more to annotate here. I actually thought for a split second that Baker Mayfield might have been the starting quarterback going into that game, just because they were getting blown out last week. He came in at the end of the game, and he ended up actually tossing a couple touchdowns and pulling them to, I think, within like 2 or 3 scores at the very end of the garbage time there. But PJ Walker was still it. PJ Walker, to my knowledge, remains the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. Not sure I agree with you.
He didn't play horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a couple of pretty wide open reads that he missed. He's still keying in a lot on his first read. And then ad-libbing on plays, he's pretty good, but he missed a couple of pretty easy throws. He got baited a couple times by linebackers. So either way, I think whether you go Walker, whether you go Baker, you're going to get the same result. So
yeah, absolutely. What I do like about PJ Walker is his ability to move in the pocket. He knows he's fast. He knows he can take off if necessary, but he doesn't like try to that often. He did only throw the ball 16 times, completed 10 for 108 yards. But he didn't turn the ball over, which was good. And in one of those games where it's just a gritty division, ground and pound game, that's all you need to do. Just don't turn the ball over. Don't lose the game. You don't have to go and win the game for your team. There was a little bit of the weather to discuss. They did have the hurricane / tropical storm / just a lot of rain going up into North Carolina there, into the Charlotte area. So there was that. But yeah, at this point, the only thing I saw out of Carolina is they messed up their draft position a little bit. Is what it is. I think Carolina,
they're in rebuild, so
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but so they need to start. They need to start dropping these games.
Yeah, and I keep seeing more news about the trade deadline of offers they got for certain players that they didn't take up on. Like I saw they turned down a trade for 2 first-round picks for Brian Burns.
Brian Burns, yeah.
Yep, and then they turned down a first-rounder apparently from Green Bay for DJ Moore.
First rounder for DJ Moore, I would have took that and ran, honestly. I can understand a little more with Brian Burns because he's only 24 years old. So maybe they think he fits some sort of realistic timeline. Still, if you're giving me 2 first rounders for Brian Burns, I'm taking that too. If you could have came out with 3 first rounders out of getting rid of 2 players, especially DJ Moore, dude, that's easy money right there.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's get into some of these games here from a fantasy perspective here, which kind of seems to be the route that this show is really taking. I have no issues with it. So let's kind of dive into it here. Let's start off hot here with Minnesota and Buffalo. Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings at 7-1 go and they play their former teammate Stephon Diggs with the 6-2 Buffalo Bills. Looks like Josh Allen will be playing. He was trending upwards. Well, they might just be saying that he was trending upwards towards the end of the week. So it does look like he is a go for this one. Of course, you still have Devin Singletary and Nicky Hines in there. What are your biggest takeaways here?
I think my biggest thing here is Josh Allen. Everything's going to hinge on Josh Allen. If Josh Allen plays and is 65% of his normal self, I think Buffalo wins this. The spread's 7, which is a little bit steep of a spread. But I don't know if the lines moved since then, but it's shows that 7. But yeah, if Josh Allen plays, give me the Bills easy. Diggs is going to have a day. I don't know if there's really too much in this matchup. Like we said with Sauce Gardner, I think I said Sauce Gardner is going to be on Diggs, but Diggs is going to still have 75 plus yards, and he had 98. So whatever you do, good luck with that. And I just don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be able to make enough big plays to kind of counter that. So yeah, I just don't think their defense is good enough. Like the Vikings defense just isn't. It's lower half in the league as far as just total defense goes, and the Bills are top 5 in every category. So yeah, I'm taking the Bills here.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm looking right now on Caesars. The line is at -6.5 for Buffalo. And I'll get into it a little bit later with my my little parlay of the week, just a little 3-teamer. But
we can get bets too if you want.
-6.5. So that's going to be my first leg.
If you want to get into bets too, we'll just at the tail end, we'll both go through our pick for that.
Yep. I do have, like I said, that little 3-team parlay to build. Bills -6.5 is one of those legs. I think it's pretty safe to say, they're at home with Bills Mafia. They're going to be on Josh Allen's back like the whole way.
Yep.
Yeah, I expect, like you were saying, Minnesota's defense just really isn't that cracked up. Their offense has come to life this year, which is fine. I can't say too much nice stuff about the Minnesota Vikings. I can't, and I won't. So there is that. But yeah, give me the Bills. Give me the Bills -6. All right, moving through the NFC North here. We called the Green Bay Detroit game last week a fantasy gold mine, right? Wasn't really that.
Boy, were we disappointed.
Oh, me more than others.
Man.
But let's talk about the real fantasy gold mine this week. Still Detroit, but this time the Chicago Bears. The Bears at Soldier Field against Chicago. No defense. No defense between these two teams. Justin Fields versus Jared Goff. David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert going up against Swift and Jamal Williams. I believe DeAndre Swift is a full go, ready to go. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is not coming in with he
doesn't have an injury tag
designation.
Yep.
You got another week of Chase Claypool, hopefully taking some of the top defense off of Darnell Mooney there, who did finish last week with 8 targets, which is the most since he's had since week 6, and that's the second most he's had all season. He also tied his season high with 7 receptions. So I'm hoping Darnell Mooney gets a little bit open this week. I actually am picking David Montgomery to have quite the game this week, just because Detroit's defense. I mean, it's not good.
31st in the NFL. Chicago's is 30th.
Yep. So it's going to be a fantasy rush of points this week. If you're looking for a last minute spot start, go to free agency, go to the waiver wire. Basically, take any piece of each of these offenses that you can find. Well, take any piece of the Detroit offense that you can find.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find like Cole Kmet or something like that on Chicago side, he's actually relatively come to life here recently. He had 6 targets, 5 catches, and he did have the 2 touchdowns last week, but he does have 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And that's against Dallas and Miami. Now he gets a little bit better of a fantasy matchup. So I should see that trending in an upward direction. Is there anything else on this game you want to talk about?
No, it's going to be interesting to see Fields how he looks. You know, everybody's high on Fields coming off of that last performance, but he's going against a extremely bad defense. So I'd be curious to know on this defense how well he can throw the ball too. Of course, we know he can run the ball. He showed that last week, but I want to see on a really bad defense if he can balance that out and do a little bit of both and make some solid throws. On the Detroit side of the ball, of course, Hawkinson's out. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown with no injury designation. So I'm expecting Amon-Ra St. Brown to be targeted heavily as per usual. When he has no injury designation, I think he's got double-digit targets in every single game. So, yeah, with Hawkinson out, Jameson Williams still not active. Expect Jameson Williams, I think, to be back within the next, hopefully, 2 or 3 weeks. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is gonna have a day, and Justin Fields. It's gonna be interesting to see that balance there, to see what he can show. I think this is his week to prove that he can do a little bit of everything. I mean, we know he can from his college days, and he's made throws in the past, but this is the defense to do it again. So I'm hoping he has a coming out party again, and really doubling down on last week's performance.
Yep. And Caesar Sportsbook has the Chicago Bears the 3-point favorites here. Are you taking that?
That's tough, man, just because we don't ever know what Detroit has offensively, right? They could come out, they could score 30, they could come out, they score 3. I think I would take Detroit to cover.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not. I'm like you. I'm very
confidence level 1.
Spread. I'd probably feel more comfortable with the Bears money line rather than the spread on it. The over under is 48.5. I kind of like that, but again, like you said, the consistency at which Detroit plays the offense is questionable at best. So, yeah, in fact, leg 2 of my 3-leg parlay is going to be the Bears money line this week. So we got Bills -6.5 and Bears money line over the Detroit Lions. Moving on here, we're just going to keep trucking right along, making great on time. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars, the resurgent Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk going up against Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, the clusterfuck of running backs they have, the clusterfuck of pretty mid wide receiver 2s that they have, and then Travis Kelce. I feel like I don't even need to ask for your opinion on half of this game because I already know what you're going to say. But for the sake of it, what are your thoughts on this?
So, yeah, we saw what Kansas City was on Monday Night Football against a terrible quarterback, Malik Willis. That was Monday night, I believe, right? Yeah. I mean, if anybody watched that game, like that's kind of what the Chiefs are right now, right? Like they're winning, of course, but you know, there's been a couple of games they lucked up to win, and then that one honestly, they were lucky to sneak away with that one last week. Patrick Mahomes didn't look good. Like I think I told you at the beginning of this year, or earlier this year, because Patrick Mahomes notoriously has been good under pressure throughout his career, right? It was mentioned that he's one of the best passer ratings with pressure applied, right? But I said this season so far that him under pressure, he's not been what he was at all. And it's because I think the exclusion of Tyreek from that offense is really not giving him that bailout that he had previously, because this passer rating under pressure is 77. Passer rating clean is 116, but under pressure it's 17. And I think in years past it was a slightly over 100 when he was under pressure. But it's because the old fuck it, Tyreek's down there somewhere mentality. I'm just going to launch his ball up and hope and pray that Tyreek gets under, plays center field and gets under. If teams can bring a hefty dose of pressure at Mahomes, like he was, you saw every play under pressure last week. He was folding. There was a couple times he was able to get out of the pocket, and of course, like he runs like a He runs like an upright, like just toddler. Like the dude's the most athletic. If you have to use your arms to help you turn while you're running, you're not athletic. They called it a juke, but I think it was more of like a left-hand turn. It's like a juke. It's like juke and trying to juke on Madden when your right analog stick is broken. That's what it was. But of course he gets all the hype for it. But that's but I digress. But yeah, so I just think if the Jaguars can get a hefty dose of pressure on them, don't count them out of this game. I think ultimately, unfortunately, Kansas City's going to end up winning. But I bring heat after Mahomes. He does not like it. It makes him really, really uncomfortable. And the Jaguars don't have a good enough defense, I think, to really cause that much of a pain in his ass. But I'm not liking the 9.5 spread for Kansas City. That's crazy. Give me the Jaguars cover the 9.5.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at as well. Anytime you get above like 7.5, like once you get to the 8s and 9s and even the double digits, I don't care what team it is. It's too many points from a professional football team to really count on. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
If I'm betting myself, I'm staying away from this game altogether. If I had to pick, I would lean the 9.5 in favor of Jacksonville. Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville's defense, they've been spotty this year, right? However, they do have a very good underrated pass rusher, also by the name of Josh Allen. Josh Allen, like he's come through in flashes, right? He had the big game last year against Buffalo where he had like 2 sacks, a pick, like stuff like that, which is great. Mm-hmm. And, people were laughing just because it was, Josh Allen sacking Josh Allen. But he's actually a very good edge rusher. And I think people fail to see that. Like, there's an actual talent behind the meme of the name. And I could see him getting to Patrick Mahomes once or twice today. So there is that. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 9.5. Moving on.
I want to throw a little bit of news that just so it says, Josh Allen officially active for Week 10. So he's suiting up today. I would assume that means he's playing.
Yes.
If you have that man put on a uniform, he's playing.
Yep.
Not really much else in fantasy injury news for this morning. I'll touch on a couple of other stuff that came out this week later. But yeah, so who's out for the Pittsburgh Steelers just came across nobody of note in fantasy. So Mason Rudolph's out. If you're starting Mason Rudolph, I would go ahead and put him on your bench.
Maybe those like large dual quarterback 32-man leagues where like you have to start like
super flex. Yeah.
I did see a couple things come across my feed. Brandon Cooks is officially active against the New York Giants today.
Surprised he's playing.
And Ezekiel Elliott will be sitting this week against the Packers. I think Mike McCarthy's probably just taking a little conservative route with him. You have, in my opinion, a more talented running back.
You know what that means, Tony Pollard day.
Oh yeah, Tony Pollard for sure. But yeah, so there is that. Okay, next matchup here. Oh, the time of Jacoby Brissett is fast approaching its end.
Winding down.
We have the Cleveland Browns going up against the Miami Dolphins, who have a surprising 6-3 record. Not super surprising, honestly. I think Miami has been one of the more fun teams to watch play football this year. They're just exciting as far as, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Tua's resurgence as an actual quarterback has been pretty fun to watch too. Plus, people forget how exciting Raheem Mostert was to watch on the San Francisco 49ers because there was a lot of injuries. But I can't tell you how many times this man would take an end around or something, like almost out of a fucking wishbone offense, take it off tackle and turn up field and go for 60 yards. And he looks healthy, looks good running the ball. Jeff Wilson did a lot out of the passing game last week in just his first game with Miami. Bradley Chubb and that Miami defense just keeps getting better and better each week. Give me the Miami Dolphins this week over the Cleveland Browns. Let me see. It's only a 3-point spread in favor of Miami. I would expect Miami to cover that one. They're in Miami. I believe it's going to be kind of a rainy day down there as well. So yeah, give me Miami. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my main key on this is good luck with Denzel Ward trying to slow down this duo. Greg Newsome and Denzel Ward trying to slow down this duo for Miami it's gonna be a long day. Yeah, Tua has looked great, of course. I mean, when you have this receiving core, you're going to look great. Yeah, Mostert is going to be Mostert. I mean, he had a touchdown last week. He didn't really have that many yards or anything like that, but you don't really need it with the way this team slings the rock around.
Right.
I mean, it's been crazy to watch Tua grow, and I still don't think he's getting the respect. It's wild to me. I mean, all the man has done is improve each year. Like you look at his passer rating, it's gone from it's up to, let's see, his passer rating when he's clean in the pocket is 123, and then his passer rating when he's under pressure is 87. So, I mean, I'd be curious to see his under pressure stats last year to see if Tyreek is the common denominator as to why he went up and Patrick Mahomes dropped. But Tua's he's been really fun to watch. But yeah, Tyreek, of course, is he's 20 points waiting for you in fantasy. Jalen Waddle, same thing. I like, it's crazy they have 2 top 5 fantasy receivers on the same team. But they've consistently been able to continue to put that out, and it's because Tua's creating that. He has that element with his feet. Of course, he hasn't done a whole lot of running, but that's always there. And then you got Raheem Mostert. You have to monitor Raheem Mostert. Like, you can't pretend like there's just nobody there.
Right.
It's not one of those situations. So they have to account for him, and just Mostert is gonna this is gonna open this offense so much more, man. I'm high on the Dolphins. Like, if they could just get their defense a little better. But
yeah,
I mean,
let me throw some.
Their defense is 26th in the league. They got to improve that for sure.
Let me throw some stats your way here as far as Tua goes. We go to 2020, his rookie season, right? And that was when he would come in he would start the game, and then he'd get taken out at halftime, and Ryan Fitzpatrick would go in and finish the game stuff.
Yep.
And all right, there we go. He played in 10 games, right? Had a 64% completion rating, 11 touchdowns, 5 picks, 1,800 yards, QBR 44.8, rating of 87.
Yep.
He's a rookie, whatever. A lot of people were bagging on him. It is what it is. You go to last year, plays in 13 games. His completion rating jumps up from 64 to 67, or just under 68. So that's a definite improvement. Throws for 2,600 yards, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. He was sacked the exact same amount of times from 2020 to 2021. And his rating went up from 87 to 90. QBR went up from 44.8 to 55.7. Still not good, however, an improvement. Then you go to this year, and I'm glad you touched on, it's pretty easy to be a good quarterback when you have the pieces around you. But isn't that like the point of a team? You know what I mean? The point of the team is to not force your star player to do everything by himself. You see it with basketball. You see it with the NFL. Like I look at, you go to baseball and you look at the Angels, right? They rely so heavily on Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and they're still not good. But then you go to other teams like the Houston Astros, who just won the fucking World Series. And yes, they have stars, but from top to bottom, they're just filled with talent. Like, I would argue one of the most memeable players that I always love to make fun of on the Houston Astros is Chas McCormick, mainly for his
Jazzy
name.
Fizz, baby.
And yet this guy makes one of the most clutch catches in center field at the end of, I think it was like game 4 or something like that.
Game 5 with
Game
bottom
5,
of the
exactly.
ninth. Bottom of the
But
ninth,
that's
one out,
exactly
one
what
run
I'm
game.
talking about. It's good to have star players. Not saying it's not. But if you want to be a solid team or an elite team, you have to build around that player. And that's exactly what the Miami Dolphins have been doing. They put a coach in there that knows what he's doing, knows how to handle speed on offense. So what does he do? He goes and he gets Tyreek Hill. He signs Raheem Mostert. He gets all of these speed guys. Already has Jalen Waddle. And then it just makes it easier on Tua because now this year he's only played in 7 games so far, is just under a 70% completion rating, just under 2,000 yards. He has 15 touchdowns, which again, last year his career high was 16. He only has 3 picks on the year. His rating is sitting at 115.9, and his QB rating has jumped from 55 to 80. Like, the step forward that Tua has taken this year is immaculate. And I'm not going to talk anymore just because I don't want to sound like a Tua fanboy, even though I probably just did right there. But
I mean, he doesn't get enough credit, so I mean, it's
absolutely.
okay.
Like, you got to look at the statistical breakdown of just how much he's improved.
Yep.
And I mean, it's good for everyone. It's beneficial for everyone, right? Like, people were concerned going into the year about, how is Tyreek Hill going to be affected fantasy-wise? Tyreek Hill has been better. Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 1 in both standard and PPR formats this year. He leads the league in receiving yards. He's on track to break a lot of NFL records. And he's doing great. That's really all I got.
Yep. Yeah, and it's one of those things, like you say, like, like they're not the whole point's to build a team around them. And typically, most players get credit and their teams will get credit, but in the case of Patrick Mahomes, he gets all the credit. So just want to throw that out there. And Ethos.
I like the full circle, bring it back around to KC. I like it.
But no, I love Tua Tagovailoa. Man, it's gonna be fun to continue to watch him progress, and that offense is just so exciting, dude. It's that
Absolutely.
thing that offense can just go for 80, 90 yards at any moment.
Absolutely. All right. Now, going from 80, 90 yards at any moment, let's go to about 8 to 9 yards per moment. We got the Houston Texans going up against the New York Giants. Man, a year ago, this game would not have been – it wouldn't have had any appeal whatsoever. But now, Saquon Barkley has come back in his contract year. He has had a resurgence. Good to see him healthy. I'm a firm believer that the NFL is a better place when the best players are healthy, and that includes Saquon. So let's see what Caesars has. They're giving the Giants a 5-point spread. I would take that against Houston. I did take Houston, that plus 14, going back to the whole large spread thing against the Philadelphia Eagles. Took them. I was arguing with someone at work about it. He's a big Philly fan. Shout out Herb. And he's, Philadelphia. Yeah, we're 8-0 or we're 7-0.
Bro, they were nervous in that one.
We're gonna fall out.
They were nervous in that one.
No, 14 points is too many points on the spread.
Without Cooks, without Nico Collins, without Brandon Cooks.
There it is.
Damian Pierce, think about that.
Ride the train. But yeah, so I mean, from terms of a fantasy perspective, we touched on Brandon Cooks active this week. I mean, Brandon Cooks is the best receiver out of both of these teams.
Yep.
Daniel Jones where's he ranked this year? He's QB 17. Yeah, not that great.
Davis Mills is a higher passer rating than him, by the way, by like 1 point.
Yep.
But
really, the only fantasy pieces to note here is probably Saquon, Dameon Pierce, and we'll see how many targets Wan'Dale Robinson gets this week. But
I'm gonna tell you one thing right now. Texans give up 150 yards rushing like we handed out like Halloween candy on Halloween, man. It's Saquon. Man, I'm telling you what, he's about to have a field day against our defense.
If I had to pick one player to be the RB1 this year or this week, it's probably Saquon.
100%.
Yeah. So I don't really have much more to touch on this game. If you wanted to, from a Houston perspective, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, no, that was the biggest thing. I mean, so like the biggest thing we got to understand is we are what we are on offense. That has been shown clearly. It's a whole lot of Dameon Pierce, and let's hope Davis Mills can make a throw or two. I'm full tank mode in my opinion, in my eyes, been that for a while. I haven't fully given up on Davis Mills yet, but I'm a big CJ Stroud guy, so I mean that's looking pretty appetizing. But it's been a whole lot of nothing in the past games. So Cooks was definitely one out because he knows he's got a whole lot more in the tank compared to what he's getting, what this offensive scheme has been for him, and it's just it's been horrible to watch. We got a 32nd. Our 24th ranked offense and then the 30th ranked defense. On the 22nd ranked strength of schedule, we have 1 win. So it hasn't been a good time. Interesting thing is that the Giants run the ball more than the Texans do. So you would think with how heavily we run Pierce that we would, but no, it's going to be whatever Saquon's rushing numbers are for hammer the over. It's wait, hold on, is this right? It's 121.5 for rushing and receiving for Saquon. Yeah, give me the over.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I see one that's the over under for rushing and receiving for Saquon is 121.5.
Yeah. His rushing yards is at 93.5, with the same exact odds as rushing and receiving. Might as well, right?
Yeah.
Other than Saquon, there's probably not a lot of fantasy relevance in this game.
No.
Yeah.
And Pierce, but
and Pierce, yes, of course. Moving on here, how mighty have these two teams fallen? We have the 3-6 Saints up against the 2-6 Pittsburgh Steelers. It's another go for Kenny Pickett, another go for Andy Dalton. I mean, the Saints offense looks better than the Steelers offense does. Looks like Chris Olave has solidified himself as the wide receiver 1 in New Orleans. I mean, when you have Slant Boy, just can't stay healthy.
Yep.
I think Jarvis I saw a notification about Jarvis Landry. I don't know if he is go or not this week. Jarvis Landry officially active against Pittsburgh. Okay. So that doesn't really do much for me as far as fantasy goes, but
not too much, no.
Yeah. But then you have Taysom Hill doing Taysom Hill type stuff out of the tight end position. Yeah, exactly. Let me see what the spread is here for New Orleans. Steelers -1.
Yeah.
I'm probably taking New Orleans +1. You might as well just give me New Orleans money line, just because there's a little fucking little zero or a little fiver in the odds change there. It goes from -110 to -105. So But Vegas is literally acknowledging how shitty this game is. Over under of 39.5. I'm probably taking the over just because I don't like any over unders in the 30s. Just like I don't like any over unders in the 50s. I'm always going to take the unders on them. But yeah, that's probably where I'm going with it. What's your take?
I'm going with the Saints because they got the better offense. Defensively, they're about one and the same, but I'll take the Saints just because they have a slightly better offense, and I don't know if I'd ever bet on the Steelers with old small hands at QB. So
yeah,
I don't even want to bet on, like I don't even want to throw out a bet on the Saints, but if I had to pick, gun to my head, I'm taking the Saints. And -1 money, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
All right, moving on here. There wasn't really a lot to touch on with that. There's probably not a lot to touch on with this game either. Denver Broncos going up against the Tennessee Titans. Is Ryan Tannehill starting again this week?
Yes, he should be back starting.
Ryan Tannehill officially active. Yep, I see that now. Okay. That doesn't change the fact that they're going to give Derrick Henry the ball, 30 times. Probably going to go for a touchdown or two. The Denver offense, fire up Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and hang on to your seat, I guess. Looks like Russell Wilson is going to be starting again this week as well. So no more, I don't even know his first name, Brett, something like that.
Ripon.
Yeah, that guy.
Don't ask me how I know that, but I know.
It doesn't matter.
I know who he is. So.
But yeah, it's going to be a Derrick Henry show again. I can see Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton making a little bit of noise. Actually, I do have Greg Dulcich as one of my sleeper starters this week at the tight end position. Just because Tennessee's so bad on defense against the tight end. Forget what exactly their defense is doing here against it, but yeah. So it is something to keep note of. It's actually very interesting because we all thought Albert O going into the year was a good sleeper tight end pick. That's who I really thought, and I was clearly wrong on that aspect. But yeah, Greg Dulcich has come alive here. I'm sitting Melvin Gordon. I forgot Chase Edmonds existed on that team. Tavius Murray, same thing. I didn't even realize Marlon Mack was on that roster at all. Yeah. All right.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So Austin Hooper probably good for one catch for 12 yards. Looks like Treylon Burks is back this week.
That was what I was about to get into, baby.
Yep. Go ahead.
Treylon Burks back from his turf toe and an offense that has been able to get zero separation at all. This offense has been unable to throw the ball at all. You got a combination of Tannehill coming back with Treylon Burks being back. Expect Treylon Burks to be targeted heavily. I want now, depending on where his turf toe's at and if he's going to be on a snap count. So we'll see what his snap share ends up being. But I think if he's a full go, which I think there's potential he is, because again, they never really said that coming in this week that there was any kind of hesitation with starting him, or I didn't see anything about him being questionable or anything like that, or any injury designation outside of the fact that he was going to be playing. But Treylon Burks, man, 6'2", 225 is a big body receiver, and he can create separation. So I'm expecting a hefty dose of Treylon, of course, after Henry, of course, is going to get his, but they need to open up this pass game just a little bit more. So it's a perfect combination of with Tannehill coming back and Treylon Burks being in. You give me the Titans here, -2.5. I'm taking that.
Gotcha. Yeah. I haven't fully given up on Russell Wilson yet. I know that it sounds absolutely terrible to me to say.
I have.
I think I've given up a lot more on the Titans, which is crazy because their record is actually a lot better than what they are as a team, in my opinion.
Then who
Give
is?
me the Broncos plus 2.5 on this.
The Broncos?
Yeah.
Dude, I think their record's better than what it should be
No,
at that
the
game.
Titans.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely agree. And honestly, they should have beat the Chiefs. But
Okay. That wraps up all the morning games here. Just to check in on the Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Looks like Tampa is up 21-9. Looks like
it should be in the fourth
Walker.
by now, right?
What's that?
It should be in the fourth by now, right?
It is. There is just under 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Looks like the Seahawks might be going for it or kicking a field goal here, but Kenneth Walker is up to 13 points for fantasy.
Wait, what's the score?
Tyler Lockett did catch a touchdown.
20-9?
What's that?
It's 21-9, right? Why would they kick a field goal?
Yeah.
That still makes it a 2-score game.
Seahawks going to Seahawks? I don't know. But in other news, Chris Godwin has caught a touchdown.
Oh, wow.
Finally,
Okay. I told my buddy this past week that Chris Godwin has had no touchdowns all season. It has to change eventually.
Chris Godwin.
And I thought it was
now
going to be this
sitting-
week. And it was.
He is sitting at a season high in fantasy points at 16.8. Not because he has been bad. He's been averaging around 10, 11, 12 points fantasy.
His target
a week.
share is crazy.
His target share is crazy. Double-digit targets in all but 2 of his games, and those were one game is when he left early. The other one, he caught all 6 of his targets for 61 yards. But now he's currently sitting at 5 catches at 58 yards on a touchdown. Game's not even over. I would expect him to kind of run it, but yeah.
Good for him. He's been a buy low candidate for me for a few weeks now, mainly because it's like, okay, like he's getting this insane target share. But he couldn't get the touchdown. I mean, he was getting he wasn't getting a whole lot of he was getting a decent amount of red zone snaps. Percentage wise, I think it was in the low 20s. So his red zone target shares, if I can find them right here. Let me see. So average depth of target was low. Red zone target. So he's only been targeted in the red zone 7 times, but he was running about 15% of their routes in the red zone. So like the fact that he'd only been targeted 7 times, now that's clearly going to update, but he just wasn't getting them. I don't know what it was. They just weren't going to him down in the red zone. And so hopefully they can, try to target him more because I mean, he's got 21% of the team's targets and, on 76% of their snap share. So, I mean, you got to start feeding him the ball down the red zone because he's proven that like he can go get touchdowns.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're so dead set on it having to be in the tight end or Mike, but mix it up a little bit, because
In other news, just real
he had
quick,
5 touchdowns last year. Yeah, go ahead.
Leonard Fournette is doubtful to return against Seattle with a hip injury. And
Interesting.
Rashad White is looking good. 18 carries for 71 yards on the ground.
It's good for you.
That's great. I love Rashad White too.
Yep.
But yeah, so with the positive game script here, I can see Rashad White finishing close to about 10 fantasy points this year. That's without any receiving work either, which Rashad White normally gets a good, healthy amount of receiving work.
Yeah.
So just wanted to touch in a little bit. It does look like Seattle is now, they went for it. They got it there now in the red zone. It is 4th and 1 on the 19-yard line. Again, I would assume with Kenneth Walker, they would go. Kenneth Walker, though, has actually been just stuffed all game. He has 10 carries for 17 yards. The only reason he's getting his points, there was a touchdown that was just scored. We'll come through and we'll see what it was. Geno Smith to Marquise Goodwin. That's disgusting.
Marquise Goodwin. Fantasy owners rejoice.
I guess if you have Geno Smith, but that's
Punch
really about it. But yeah, okay. Let's get into the afternoon games here, and we'll start with the dumpster fire that is the Indianapolis Colts against the other dumpster fire that is the Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry, Dom. By the way, we are live on Facebook.
Oh, we are?
Yeah. Apparently. It wasn't working when I was trying to do it, but I guess it went through. So
I'm going to reshare that link here.
Good old Dom said morning. Good morning, Dom.
What's up, Dom?
Yeah. But yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this, right? Josh Jacobs, I think, he's so inconsistent. I don't know what to expect from him anymore. He had 3 straight games of 30-plus fantasy points, and he hasn't gone over 12 since. In fact, he only has 1 game over 12 fantasy points outside of those 3 big games, and that was all very touchdown-heavy games as well. It would have been a fine fantasy day on any of those games without the touchdowns, but he scored all 6 of his rushing touchdowns on the season in those 3 games alone. Indianapolis defense, they've given up a bit this year. It is what it is. He could have a good game. He could have another bust. You know what I mean? I would probably think he would have a good game this week. But that's just me. Devontae Adams, still out there, still going. And reports are saying that Devontae Adams is seeking an increased target share. Maybe you should have signed back with Green Bay and you would have had that target share. But
it can only get you the ball as much as your quarterback can get it to you, buddy.
Which is crazy to me because he had 17 targets last week.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's had a hefty dose of targets.
Yeah.
He's like, I want them all.
He's had 1, 2, 3, 4 games of double-digit targets. 3 of those 4 that weren't double-digit targets. He had 7 or higher.
Let me look at something right here, because I'm curious to know. Go ahead. I'm just going to look at some of his numbers. Okay.
Yeah. And the only really down game he had due to targets was the game that he was, sick with the flu. I'm really trying to figure out what kind of target share he wants an increase for. Does this man want 20 targets a game?
This doesn't make sense, right? So he's third in the NFL in targets. 10.6 per game.
31% of the Raiders' targets this year.
He's got a 31.4% target share, 94% of a snap share. He's 11th in routes run, 100% in route participation. Air yards, 3rd in the league. Average depth of target is a little lower, but target quality is the problem. His target quality rating is 5.18, which is 60th. Catchable target rate is 70.6, which is 73rd. So only 60 of his 85 targets have been catchable. So that's the problem. It's not the amount of targets you're getting. It's the quarterback. I mean, that's clear as day right here because he's top 10 in every number as far as targets goes and 3rd in air yards. So, I mean, you can't get mad at the what he's getting there. That's not the problem right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe. Just maybe, shouldn't have left Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Wild concept to think.
I don't know, but Aaron Rodgers isn't looking much better this year. But
I'm fully convinced it's his thumb. He has had a thumb injury for 4 weeks now.
It's his COVID toe.
It's his COVID thumb. That's what it is.
COVID toe.
Looks like Jonathan Taylor is active again this week. I would definitely fire him up against the Raiders defense. I would expect a pretty nice day out of him. I can't put any faith in any of these Indy receivers until Sam Ellinger shows me something. Sam Ellinger looks atrocious.
I am out on Indianapolis receivers.
Yikes.
All of them.
Which sucks for Michael Pittman, because Michael Pittman is a very talented receiver.
He is.
Literally, all you have to do, like, what made him special to me is even his rookie season, when Phillip Rivers was his quarterback, he could literally run a drag route across the middle of the field, catch it, and make 15, 20 yards out of it. Like,
Sad.
And then last year, he showed the 50-50 ball skill in catching a lot of those that Carson Wentz would throw up there. And he was catching a lot when Matt Ryan was throwing it. I know the team wasn't performing well, but, I mean, yikes, man. Like,
yep.
Sucks for him. If you're a dynasty holder of Michael Pittman, just hold on and hope for the best in the offseason that they make another change at quarterback that can actually get him the ball.
They're going to have to. I mean, there's no way they can stick with this duo of Matty Ice and Ellinger.
No chance. Does have the Raiders as -4 favorites in Las Vegas. I'd probably take that. As much of a dumpster fire as the Raiders have been, I don't think any. Well, I can think of a team that has, but the Colts are definitely one of the more disappointing teams in the NFL this year, and probably a candidate for the most disappointing. Speaking of candidates for the most disappointing team in the NFL, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Green Bay Packers.
Can I go back into that game real quick?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Give my quick thoughts on it. So you touched on Josh Jacobs earlier. I think Josh Jacobs is a top 10 running back this week. His snap share went up by 20%. Last week he only had how many points did he have last week?
13 or 11, 11.7.
11.7. Yeah. But he's going against an opponent that actually has been not very good fantasy wise against the run. So I'm saying lock in Josh Jacobs as a top 10 running back this week. Close to top 5, but he's not quite in the top 5 for me.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to. We're going to Lambeau Field. Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy's return to Lambeau. Aaron Jones is healthy. Ezekiel Elliott is not.
What are your thoughts, Janie?
I'm trying to craft what I want to say in my head here. Shit, man. Tony Pollard should have a tremendous day against this Green Bay defense that just has not been able to stop the run. Their secondary has been one of the best in the league.
Yep.
But their run defense has just been absolutely atrocious. Rashawn Gary is out for the rest of the season with a torn ACL, so that's going to take some pressure off of Dak Prescott for sure. This Green Bay offense has just been so lackluster. I'm trying so hard not to say, hey, just pack it in. We'll reload and get them next year with whatever that team looks like. Because, I mean, you still have Aaron Jones, and despite what he's done for fantasy, A.J. Dillon is still a very viable running back in this NFL. Allen Lazard has actually done pretty good from a receiver standpoint, which is pretty hard to do in this offense. Mm-hmm. In games he's played, his season low came in week 2 with 9.3 points. Ever since then, he has been at 11.5 or more fantasy points per week. And a lot of it comes on the back of 8 targets, 9 targets. He had 10 targets last week with a touchdown. And so, you talk about, you're trying to find silver linings here in an offense that's really struggled. it seems like Alan Lazard and Aaron Jones are probably the only consistent fantasy producers. Aaron Jones didn't last week. He got hurt, didn't come back in, was seen in a walking boot and leaving the game, but then he practiced all week. He practiced limited on, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then he was a full participant on Thursday and Friday going into today. No injury designation. So, yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So on this one, it's so Dallas has kind of set up what they are. The Cowboys are very much content on building a lead and then just kind of sitting on that lead and beating you with their defense. So that doesn't instill a lot of confidence in me for anybody in that offense outside of Tony. Defense is so good. They're not going to get into a lot of shootouts and stuff like that. Hence why I traded CeeDee Lamb, because that team is one of those teams that they're gonna sit there. They're gonna get out to an early lead and they're gonna try to sit on it. Will they be able to do that every game? No, but they've been able to do it a lot of the games. That's what's gonna make Aaron Dillon's. I'm an idiot. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon's job is a lot more difficult, considering that their defense, they give up. The Dallas Cowboys defense gives up 5 less fantasy points than the average to running backs. So it's tough to run the ball against that team, but I do think that they can make. So you're a fan more so this week of AJ Dillon, you said?
I'm actually a big fan of Aaron Jones this week.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, because Aaron Jones to me has been the better running back. It's just he's getting half the snaps. But if we look at his efficiency, his yards per touch is 5.8 yards per touch, which is top 10. Missed tackles 5 per game, so it's 8th in terms of running back goes. It's just a matter of the touches for him. He's getting he's averaging 61% of the snap share on the season, but I think last week it was about 50-50 split, because the opportunity share is 50-50. So it's just a matter of touches for him. But I do believe he's their best chance to get something rolling against this defense. So I wish they would go a heftier dose of Aaron Jones this week. Again, it's going to be tough sledding to run the ball. I'm not expecting anything too crazy. Top 20 week from Aaron Jones, but they're going to have to establish a run and just at least get Dallas guessing, because Dallas's defense is so solid. If you can only do one thing against them, they're going to key in on that and they're going to be able to stop you. I want to see them unleash Jones a little bit more and open up that pass game so they can hit Samori Toure deep down the field for some big touchdowns.
Toure has actually been probably one of the better receivers on this Green Bay team. I know that's not saying much, but he has been a bright spot. Romeo Doubs is going to be out for a few weeks.
Yep.
Christian Watson, the minute somebody touches him on the football field, he goes down with another concussion. So I am concerned for that man's health.
In the Denny's terms, his brain's been scattered and splattered. That's what they call their hash browns.
It's like they scheme touches for him, and I like the way that they scheme touches for him. And he's so fast when he plays.
Yep.
And then it's hitting the immovable object type thing, and he just crumples. And I cringe every time I see him get hit.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's get some optimism going. Aaron Rodgers owns the Dallas Cowboys. They're at home, at Lambeau. He's had another week for this thumb to heal, his COVID thumb. Give me the Packers plus 3.5 here, okay? Dak Prescott is absolutely washed. This defense is going to Jair Alexander is going to completely cover CeeDee Lamb. all fucking game. I don't even know who their fucking no-name wide receiver 2 is. Michael Gallup. Okay, cool. He peaked at Colorado State. Yeah, give me Green Bay plus 3.5, and that's actually going to be the third leg of my 3-team parlay. So we have the Bears money line, the Bills -6, and the Green Bay Packers plus 3.5. Give it.
Interesting.
Plus
Okay.
500 odds.
So you're taking the spread, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm this one's tough, but I think I'm gonna take the Packers to win. Not as aggressively as you were. I'm not gonna say that
I had to hype myself up.
their receivers peaked in Pop Warner, but I do like I don't know, man. I feel like Green Bay's this ticking time bomb that's just gonna explode. But it's hard to say they're gonna do it against this defense. But I think they'll do enough to sneak out of there with the victory. Again, if they could just make Dallas uncomfortable and have them not get a comfortable lead, not be able to sit on this and play with their defense and run the football, they can get them out of that. They haven't really shown, haven't had to really show that this year that they can go out there and just start slinging it if they get behind by a couple touchdowns. So I'll be interested to see that. But yeah, it's really hard to bet against the Cowboys right now because they got the best defensive football. But yeah, give me the Packers to win outright.
Yeah. And let me throw something your way here, right? If Green Bay's offense was doing like what they did last year, right?
Yep.
And you took that and they put that on this team this year, combined with what the defense has done this year. Green Bay is probably looking at one of the other undefeated teams right now. And I know I say that wearing a fucking jersey of them, so it's going to sound incredibly biased of me saying it. But let me tell you, like, we touched on Green Bay being one of the best secondaries in the league, and they've been their big issue has been their run defense.
Can I answer one question in the Facebook chat?
Yeah.
Jose Vega asked Lawrence or Wilson. Lawrence.
I'm sorry.
Just want to throw that out there so he
Wilson,
doesn't think we missed the
give me
question.
Trevor Lawrence. Give me Trevor Lawrence all day.
Yep.
Russell Wilson. I know I said I haven't completely given up on him, but Trevor Lawrence is definitely the better quarterback and the better offense this year. So.
All right. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. So with what I was saying is, right, Green Bay's defense, their run defense has been the biggest issue. Now, you put a good offense out there, and just like that, you're forcing a lot more teams to throw the ball rather than just run the clock out with you. The Giants game wouldn't have been close, meaning Saquon would not have had the opportunity to, really give him that edge late in the game. The Jets would have had to rely on Zach Wilson, which we all know how that fucking goes. Who else we fucking lose to? Fuck the Washington Commanders. And Taylor Heineke wouldn't have even had them. Like, all of these games that they've lost have been close. And that's my point. Even with Green Bay struggling, and struggling is a understatement of what this offense has been doing, every single one of their games has been close. Even the Buffalo Bills game was a touchdown and a field goal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
It's been Nebraska 2021.
Yeah, it really has. But that's what I'm going to say on Green Bay there. I think they just got to get it right. And when it comes to such a young receiving core, the second half of the season is when stuff like that gets fixed.
Yep.
You see it all the time with rookies turning it up in the second half of the year. You saw it with Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, and he was able to carry it over into this year. Yeah. Give me Green Bay plus 3.5 at home. The fans are dying for production. and I think we get that this week against Dallas. So, was there anything else you want to note on that game?
No, not really. I was considering doing a Dalton Schultz over/under on receptions, but I think I'm going to pass on that one.
That's fair. That's
So
fair.
I'll
Dalton
get back
Schultz
to my
has
bets
been
later.
Dalton Schultz has been so hard to just predict what he's going to do this year or each week. I was actually pretty high on him going into the year as far as a tight end for fantasy.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked out. All right, let's move on to the last non-primetime game. We have Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals going up against John Wolford and the Los Angeles Rams. This is disgusting. I don't like this at all. In fact, feed me nobody really. I don't know what to say. Give me Rondale Moore getting some short passes out of the slot. Give me Zach Ertz getting hyper targeted by Colt McCoy because Colt McCoy loves to go to his slot guys and his tight end.
Yep.
I don't know enough about John Wolford to, give me any of that. Like, so I hate to say it, but what's the spread on this here? Cardinals plus 3.5. Give me Cardinals plus 3.
Yeah. Ooh. Really? You're going there? I'm not trying to change your mind. Don't worry.
But. No. It's a very hesitant. Give me the Cardinals plus 3 because the Rams defense is still good, right?
Yeah.
But we did see Colt McCoy do some pretty good stuff last year when he was in. Like if we go back to his stats last year.
No, he's better than Kyler.
Is what it is, right?
I tell no lies.
Yeah, is what it is, really. But
yeah, I think the biggest thing in this one is Cooper Kupp, wide receiver 1 day against this secondary.
I'm all for it.
He's my fantasy wide receiver 1 this week. Yeah, it's his match. This matchup's too good for him, honestly.
That's fair.
So give me all the Cooper Kupp stock. Of course, Cardinals, you're auto starting D-Hop. He's a wide receiver 1 every week, it looks like. Top 5 every week.
Temper your expectations on D-Hop this week. He's gonna be shadowed by Jalen Ramsey all game.
Jalen Ramsey. Hey, listen. Him and when Jalen Ramsey was in Jacksonville and D-Hop was with the Texans, the motherfuckers went at it.
Exactly.
D-Hop got the better of him. And Jalen Ramsey, this year, I don't know if you saw in the last Rams game, but Jalen Ramsey was getting a little overzealous there and getting cocky about a bat down that he made that would have been intercepted had he not made the play anyways, and then came back down and got picked on as Tampa drove down the field and won that game. So give me D-Hop.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not saying D-Hop's going to be bad. I'm just saying.
No, for sure.
Temper your expectations. I think D-Hop.
I get what you're saying, though.
Look, if there's any receiver that I'm putting money on to go one-on-one against some of the best corners in the league, it's going to be DeAndre Hopkins, right?
Yeah.
So,
No, I get your point. I get your point. It's just the old rival from Texans Jags days coming out.
Oh yeah.
Fire in the
I
match.
want to see a little bit more of the whole Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans. I want to see it.
Yeah. Will.
What was the? Wasn't it Jalen Ramsey? Snatching the chain off of another fucking receiver, AJ Green or something like that.
No, it was off of. It was oh my god from the Broncos. Of a Crabtree.
It
wasn't Jalen Ramsey though, but I believe it was Crabtree's chain, and that guy with the Aqib Talib?
Was it Aqib Talib? Yeah,
so.
it was. Aqib Talib snatched
Okay.
Michael Crabtree's chain.
Yep.
Wasn't the first time. It happened multiple times.
Oh, yeah. It was a very interesting technique there.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything else on the Cardinals and Rams?
No, that game does not look fun.
Yeah. No. All right. So let's move on to this game. It was flexed to Sunday Night Football. We have the Los Angeles Chargers up against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm just going to go position by position here and talk about who has the edge of what here.
Yep.
And I hate to say this, but I think Jimmy Garoppolo has the edge over Justin Herbert this week. We'll get to it when we talk about the receivers being out. But I mean, you have McCaffrey doing his thing. Looks like Elijah Mitchell's actually back and healthy this week, so we'll see how they introduce him. Deebo Samuel's back, Brandon Ayuk's back, George Kittle still there.
We got some questions coming in the YouTube.
Yes. I saw them. We will get to them in just a moment. Eckler and McCaffrey, I think both are going to go off this week just because McCaffrey's so dynamic. And Eckler has been on an absolute tear. He is the number one running back in PPR this week. Josh Palmer should do relatively well again. We definitely called it last week, didn't we? 91% snap share, 10 targets, 8 catches, 106 yards. He even had a couple drops, but still balled out.
Yep.
So I think Josh Palmer, Gerald Everett, and Eckler are probably the way to go. Everett has just provided such a nice floor all year long. He's sitting as the tight end 10 in PPR formats, only has 2 touchdowns on the year, but he's consistently getting 6, 7, 8, 9 targets a game. And I see that continuing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. With still no Mike Williams, still no Keenan Allen. I'd have to say I still think I want to pick the Chargers, but to cover, not to win, to cover the spread, but I'm not doing that with much confidence. DeAndre Carter and Josh Palmer are just going to have a day, both of them, to keep this close. But give me this spread's pretty big, so give me the Chargers to cover that.
Yeah, absolutely. San Francisco to win outright, Chargers to cover. I like it. I definitely like it. Okay, let's move on to our questions. Yeah. So OD off of YouTube is asking to start Hunt, Donovan Peoples-Jones, or Wan'Dale Robinson. Who are you taking out of those 3?
Probably I'm taking Donovan Peoples-Jones over the 2, and then I would order it Peoples-Jones, Wan'Dale, and then Hunt.
Interesting. Okay. Why? What do you see in Peoples-Jones?
I just think he's gonna. I think he's gonna have a better day. I think that game could turn into a high-scoring game. So I think that gives him an advantage as far as potential targets goes. Just because we know what Miami's offense is capable of. Wan'Dale a little bit higher than Hunt because they're playing the Texans, and I know how bad our defense is. But I think Donovan Peoples-Jones has the potential to have a big game. Out of the 3, like I expect, he's still what he is, top 35 wide receiver. But I would put him above those 2 slightly. But I'm taking, if it's me, I'm taking Peoples-Jones.
Sure. Give me Wan'Dale Robinson. He kind of showed a little bit of flash in the pan. Week 7 against Jacksonville. Wasn't really right injury-wise going into week 8. He's had the bye week now. Kadarius Toney is out of New York. Wan'Dale Robinson is he's the guy. He is the guy.
I'm cool with my boy Wan'Dale getting picked.
Absolutely. He is the guy in that Giants offense. in the receiving core, I think Houston's going to be stacking the box a lot against Saquon. It should open up some good play action for Daniel Jones to hit Wan'Dale Robinson relatively easily, relatively often. Give me Wan'Dale Robinson. What I like about this question here is you can't really go wrong, right? All of the matchups are relatively decent. Kareem Hunt even, still doing his generally safe, just under 50% target share. It's like a 60-40 split with Nick Chubb. He gets about 10 to 12 carries a game, gets about 3 to 4 targets a game. The volume is there for like a flex option for Kareem Hunt. He is the RB30 on the year, which when he's not even getting the majority of the snaps is still, if you extrapolate all that, it's actually a pretty decent outing for him. So you really can't go wrong. I'm picking Wan'Dale. Justin picking Donovan Peoples-Jones. All right, let's go to Shay Ambrose. Good morning, boys. Do I drop Tyler Higbee for Cole Kmet this morning in a full PPR? I don't know if you fully drop Higbee.
Depends on your situation. If you can afford to drop him, then okay.
We touched on Cole Kmet earlier. I like Cole Kmet. He has seen an uptick in targets and touchdowns the last few weeks. As far as the thing I'm getting hung up on here is actually going and dropping Tyler Higbee, going 400, because then you're talking about rest of season implications, right? I don't think we fully know what this Chicago offense is going to look like the rest of the year. I think they're trending in the upward direction, but I think all it's going to take is one game for them to, not show up, and everyone's just going to jump. Everyone's going to jump ship, and it's just going to be back to square one. So I like Cole Kmet as a streaming option this week at tight end. If you can afford to bench Tyler Higbee and then pick up Cole Kmet and start him instead, that would be the way to go. But again, depending on your situation, Higbee really hasn't done all that much this year. Let me find his.
Part of me really likes the matchup, though. The Cardinals are one of the worst teams as far as tight end matchups go.
Yeah.
And of course, over the season, Higbee has gotten 20.4% target share, and a higher route participation. However, what we were talking about this week, it's going to be interesting to see Fields have a coming out performance against doubling down on his last week's performance, and hopefully, like I said, start slinging the ball around a little bit more against us and show what he's actually capable of. I think Higbee has a safer floor, but I think Kmet has the higher upside. So it depends. If you're in a position to where you're kind of in the playoffs or like sitting comfortably in the standings, but if this is a must-win week for you, I'm prone to say go Higbee. But if you're in a position where you're just like, I want the upside, I'm in a good position. I just want to throw the best person out there on the field that can give me the most points, I would go with Cole Kmet. So if it was me this week, I'd probably start Higbee.
Yeah, it is something important to bring up here. Like Arizona last week, right? They gave up 5 catches and 96 yards to Noah Fant.
Yep.
And then when Higbee played them in week 3, he got you just over 10 fantasy points, 4 catches, 61 yards. His target share was through the roof up until about week 5. And then a 2-target game against Carolina, a bye week, only 2 catches on 6 targets against San Fran, only had 1 target last week. But, I mean, we might see John Wolford really rely on the tight end, you know, the
Yep.
little short passing game kind of
That's
thing.
that's one of the things that I also want to point out is the fact that when you have a backup quarterback and they're more likely to resort to their checkdowns. However, we don't know. Like we just don't know. Like that's a trend, yes, but is it 100% science? No. But that is another one of the reasons that I'm liking Higbee, just as a floor.
Yeah.
But like I said, if the higher upside is definitely with Komet, because we know Higbee's not going to go off with the quarterback situation. So yeah, and Komet, I believe, can go anywhere from 5 points to 25 points.
Yeah,
this week.
absolutely. Justin Fields loves to look his way in the red zone is what I've seen these past few weeks. So I hope that answered any questions for you. My gut is telling me don't drop Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, I wouldn't drop
it. Okay, let's move on here to our last game of the week. It is our Monday night matchup between the Washington Commanders, who are surprisingly 4-5, against the undefeated Philadelphia Eagles. Caesars has the spread here at -11 for the Philadelphia Eagles. What did we say about those double-digit point spreads, right?
No bueno. Stay away.
Yeah, I'm not betting the spread on either there just because I don't like the Commanders at all. The team seems to play better, though, with Taylor Heinicke. Not that Taylor Heinicke plays better, but the team around him tends to play better. I think Carson Wentz was so scared to really let it all out. And, you know, now that he's hurt, Taylor Heinicke's in, he's playing better football with them. Which, I mean, they almost won last week. They should have won last week. Minnesota was trying to give them the game last week. They did beat Indianapolis, right? Did they beat Indianapolis? I think they beat Indianapolis.
Yes.
I know they beat Green Bay. So, but Taylor Heinicke, yeah, he does give them a tiny bit of rushing upside as well. But this game is going to be all Philadelphia to me. Miles Sanders has had a resurgence this year. That Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown connection has just been outrageous this year. A.J. Brown coming in as the wide receiver 7 on the season in PPR formats, wide receiver 6 in standard formats. Devontae Smith has kind of had an up and down year. It's like he grows his targets and then he goes down, and then he grows it back up and then he goes down. Like literally, he started the season 4 targets, 7 targets, 12 targets, 4 targets, 11 targets, 5 targets, 8 targets, 2 targets. So he should have an uptick versus what he had last week. He hasn't scored since week 6. He only has 2 scores on the year.
I'm not very confident in Devontae Smith.
Yeah. Devontae Smith is kind of like a boomer bust kind of thing this year. Because it's really been all A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert as well, actually. Dallas Goedert has actually kind of been the second receiving option. It's like read for A.J. Brown, check down to Dallas Goedert. That's kind of been the way to go there, which, I mean, it works for Jalen Hurts, right? He's QB5 on the year. So he's performing very well from both passing and rushing. So good on him, I guess. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that one's not going to be fun to watch. It definitely not taking the spread. I think maybe the Commanders can make this an ugly enough game to keep it within that range. But I don't have much confidence in them outside of that. Terry McLaurin's still overrated. So I hate to say it, but I think we all know it. Terry McLaurin's still overrated. So that offense just isn't good. Gibson's a sleeper in fantasy. He's going to dominate that backfield, because I think when Brian Robinson came in, a lot of people thought that he was going to slowly start to take over that backfield. Do you have the numbers on the snap share there? Up.
Antonio Gibson, his snap share went down, but it jumped back up to just under 60% last week.
Exactly.
And Brian Robinson has yet to crack 50.
Yep. So Gibson is a decent fantasy play because, again, I think this is going to be one where Washington's going to need to muddy this game up and run the ball too, because we know Philly's going to run the ball. Kind of like last week where I said the Bengals to win need to give a hefty dose of Joe Mixon. What did they do? They gave a heavy dose of Joe Mixon.
They did.
I think the Commanders' pass offense just is so bad that they're just going to have to start running the ball a little bit more, and they're going to start giving it to Gibson a little bit more. Give me the Commanders to cover the 11.5, though. Yeah, that one's not going to be fun to watch at all.
No, it's not. Why this is a Monday night game? Not a fucking clue.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But, I mean, we're used to it. Look at these Thursday night games we've had to sit through. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on here? We got about 10 minutes to go before game time.
Did you want to give out your parlay?
What's up?
Do you want to give out your parlay real quick?
Yes.
Give out the full parlay.
Let me run that by one more time here.
Yep.
Oh, Caesars needs to log me back in. Hold on.
I can give mine
right here. Okay. 3 legs. We got the Chicago Bears money line over the Detroit Lions. We have the Green Bay Packers plus 3.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. And we have the Buffalo Bills minus 6 against the Minnesota Vikings. Those 3 legs, plus 500, you bet $100, you get $600 as a payout for a $500 profit. That's my 3-leg parlay of the week. What do you got, Justin?
Yeah, mine's going to be give me Christian Kirk over 62.5 receptions.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown over 6.5 receptions. And I was looking at the Dalton Schultz receptions over under. I think I'm going to go with the receiving yards over under.
Okay. What's the receiving
over
yard
on
line?
Receiving yards 32, I believe.
I like that. Yep.
So,
I like that.
32.5. Yeah, 32.5. Yep. Okay.
I like it.
Yeah, 3-leg parlay there. So yeah, Christian Kirk over 62.5, Amon-Ra St. Brown over 6.5 receptions, and Dalton Schultz over 32.5 receiving yards. And then I guess we can run through our top 5 position rankings.
I don't think we have enough time to go through each position here, so maybe we just go with the top 5 teams this week, and then next week we can definitely dive into positional rankings as well.
Okay.
So, who is your number 1 team in the NFL?
Buffalo, still.
Okay. All right. I would also have Buffalo there as well. Number 2, give me the Philadelphia Eagles.
I don't know if I can quite go there with the Philadelphia Eagles just yet.
You're not going to like my list. I can tell you that right now.
I know, because I know the Chiefs are going to be next. Give me Ravens.
Ravens is a good pick. Yeah. Okay. Who's your third?
Cowboys.
Okay. Give me the Chiefs. 4. And when they're healthy, give me the Ravens. Yeah. When they're clicking, they are an exceptional team.
Yeah. Oh, man, I don't want to do this. Give me the Chiefs. We got a question in the YouTube chat too.
Oh, we do. PPR flex, Kareem Hunt, Curtis Samuel, or Brian Robinson. Give me Kareem Hunt. With Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson both running the ball, a lot of Curtis Samuel's value has quickly diminished as like a utility type player.
Yeah.
I think Curtis Samuel is a perfect sell high candidate. A lot of leagues trade deadlines are coming up next week.
I think Terry McLaurin is.
I would sell high on Curtis Samuel. Really, I would start Kareem Hunt this week against Miami.
Yeah. It's a toss up between Hunt and Samuel for me, but I think I'm going to lean. I think I'm going to lean slightly Hunt's direction. I mean, it's close, but I think Kareem Hunt's going to get involved in the passing game again because I think this Miami game could be high scoring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not on the other question earlier. I wasn't high on Kareem Hunt over those guys, but over these two, yeah, I'm taking Kareem Hunt.
Absolutely. Okay.
And Brian Robinson with his snap share up in limbo right now.
Yeah.
He's out. He's the first one out for me, easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Curtis Samuel, he has been pretty hot lately. I just don't know how long that's going to last. You know what I mean? With Taylor Heineke throwing the ball, it's a toss up any week. So especially against that Eagles defense. The Eagles defense has been one of the top defenses in the league this year.
They're top 10. So it's a top 10 matchup too. It's another thing we got to consider. Although the Dolphins defense is top 15. So, but
yeah, feed me Kareem Hunt. That's really all that is.
Yep.
Okay, let's
thanks
round out the top 5 here. What's that?
I was telling thanks for the question though.
Yeah, absolutely. Rounding out the top 5. Who do you have as your 5th best team in the league?
Yeah. This like, am I really gonna say this? Like, part of me wants to say the Bucks.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm going Bucks.
That is not where I thought you were going with it.
Yeah. You thought I was going to go Vikings?
I thought you could have gone multiple ways because I'm still trying to figure out who I'm putting at 5. Every bone in my body wants to say, do not go with the Minnesota Vikings.
I couldn't
every time I turn their game on, it's like they're having to stop the opposing offense from scoring at the very end of the game to win a game. Doesn't matter who they're playing either.
Now, if this is power rankings, of course it's not the Bucks, but if this is my opinion, the top 5 teams in the NFL, Bucks.
Yeah. Give me the 49ers. Their defense is hot. Their offense is full of weapons that are all healthy.
So I went 5-5 team. You went 4-4 team.
Yeah. That's what it is, right?
Yeah, man.
I think the San Francisco 49ers. Actually, you know what? No, fuck the 49ers. I hate the 49ers. Give me the Miami Dolphins. I feel much better about that pick than I do.
I was almost tempted to replace the Chiefs with the Dolphins, and I might just do that. I was thinking about that, but I'm like, you know what? I want the Chiefs out of my top 5. Give me the Dolphins.
There you go.
Get them out.
So that is going to wrap it up for us this week. Thank you all for tuning in to the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. We hope you all have a wonderful week.
Oh, we got
one more question here. Morning, gents, full PPR, Jerry Jeudy or Josh Palmer? That's a great question, actually.
That is, but man, it's hard not to go against. It's hard to go against my boy Josh Palmer though. With, last week's game, the way it was. Give me Palmer.
I'm leaning Jerry Jeudy.
So we didn't help him at all. No, you're good. You're good, buddy.
You're good, man.
Give me Palmer, but they're both. Give me Palmer. I'm riding with Palmer. I know Judy's got a better matchup, but Palmer's matchup isn't bad as far as pass defense goes. So, give me Palmer, and I believe that the Chargers are going to probably be playing from behind more than the Tennessee's going to slow that game down with Derrick Henry. So that game is going to get slowed down a lot with just a hefty dose of Derrick Henry. I know San Francisco is going to run the ball, but they don't have Derrick Henry. Christian McCaffrey, they use him a lot of in passing downs and stuff like that. So it's going to be throwing the ball more. Yeah, give me Palmer.
You know what? I'm switching to Palmer just because you had a lot more logic behind your your answer than I did, and I want to at least give Trey here a pretty legitimate answer. So yeah, Josh Palmer.
We're high on Palmer last week. We got to ride the hot hand.
Got to ride it for sure. Just to wrap it up here, Rachaad White finished the game 22 carries, 105 yards on the ground. Give me Rachaad White. I hope Lenny's out for the rest of the season.
That's a game right there. I know you've been waiting for this moment. So
I've been waiting. We're here. We've arrived. All right. Thank you all for tuning into the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. We hope you all have a wonderful week. We hope you all win your bets. We hope you all win your fantasy matchups, unless you're playing us, of course.
Trey said he was forced to start White today.
Hey, I have voluntarily started White for the past 3 weeks in a dynasty league.
It worked out very well.
Very happy.
Good
all right. We'll see you all next week.
Yep.
Thanks for checking out the Cheesy Corn Sports Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Justin and Martin, check out Cheesy Corn Sports on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'll see you next time on Cheesy Corn Sports.